The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We are here live. It is Friday. It is January 2013. I think it's the 11th of the month. I know it seems like, when are we here? When are we not here? We'll talk about what's happening with all that in just a minute. But so thrilled to be here with you. So thrilled to be starting out this new year with you. And we have a lot of things to cover today. And I've come in especially today because we have so much exciting stuff. But I want to remind you, and you can hear I've got some stuff going on here, right? That's part of the reason why we weren't here yesterday. And we're taking extra precautions. There is an influenza epidemic, and my child tested positive for influenza A. I have a little mask that I'm wearing when I'm not here with you on camera. And everybody's staying far, far away from me in case of that. So we're going to be Skyping with some really exciting people later on today so that we're not spreading germs. How's that? In any case, I want to remind you that it's safe to interact with us, that you can interact from home, you can ask questions, and be a part of this conversation, because that's really what this show is meant to be, is an interactive opportunity for you to ask questions, give comments and support to other people, and let's further the discussion of how do we help our kids on the autism spectrum. And by kids, because our kids are always our kids, right? But sometimes they're 12, sometimes they're 3, sometimes they're 37, right? And I know that there's a growing population of young people, young adults who are joining us who are on the spectrum, and we welcome you as well, because there's a whole host of things that we can talk about to help you to reach your fullest potential. And on top of that, we are, because it's the start of a new year, going to be talking about how all of us, whether we're on the spectrum or not, can reach our fullest potential using the tools of ABA. I'm very excited about this topic. In any case, I want to remind you, and Emily's going to scroll through some of the different ways that you can interact with us. And, excuse me. You can, especially if you're watching us live, and there's only one place to watch us live at this point in time, and that is www.autism-live.com. When you go there, we've got a brand new website that you guys have been writing in and telling us how much you enjoy. I love it too. It looks like a desk. I don't know whether it's supposed to be my desk or somebody else's desk, but it's too clean to be my desk. Let's be honest about that. But there is a place on just below the bulletin board that it says Shannon is answering right now, and if you put your cursor there, it's interactive when we're live. You can type out whatever you'd like to type. You can just say, Shannon, I'm watching today. I'm watching live, and I'm in Montana, and I'm so excited about our contestant on Miss America tomorrow. Or you could write it and say, I'm not feeling good today. I too have influenza A happening in my household. Whatever it is, but we're excited to be able to talk to you. And again, there is no cost to that. You don't have to log in. Oh my goodness. Isn't that refreshing? Excuse me. So take the opportunity, lots of exciting things that we're going to be talking about today, and getting ready. We've got some new stuff planned for this new year. So thrilled to be here with you. I always like to remind you guys that I am not an autism expert. I am not I'm not a licensed therapist. I am not even an unlicensed therapist. Didn't that sound funny? And I am a former teacher, and I am a mom who has a child on the autism spectrum. He was diagnosed at 2.5. He is now 9.5, and he is in completely included neurotypical, regular, mainstreamed school and excelling. And, you know, he still has his challenges, the things that we work through. But from where we started, when my child was no longer speaking, because he had been speaking and regressed, we've come so far, baby. And there's no reason to think we can't get that much further. So that's why I'm here. And I want you to know that I'm as curious as you are to get answers and to live the best life that I can with my child on the autism spectrum. So that's what we're all about. And we hope that you will participate in that endeavor, because I know that you know things. We asked a couple of weeks ago what you guys want us to talk about in the coming year. And one of the first things somebody wrote in was something I'd never heard of before. And then as soon as I started researching, I was like, well, of course, this is a topic that we need to talk about, but I know you guys know things that I don't know. And so never be afraid to put forward what it is that you want to talk about, because I'm here to learn just as much as anybody else and to help us all connect the dots and get hooked up with the people that we want to talk about. And you know, I say this on the show all the time, that when you don't even know the question to ask, you could miss something. So I love your input, whether it's questions or suggestions. All right, something that we still are going to be doing every morning that I fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is the time of day when I think of it as our warm-up, where we take one word, one phrase, one anagram, and try to demystify it, make it clear to us what this term means and how it relates to our child and our child's improvement and progress. It can be so overwhelming when people are using these terms and we don't know what they mean, and when we have to continually stop and say, all right, what does that mean again? But just like when we teach our children, if we take it in bite-sized amounts and make it really clear, then we will find that we will learn and grow that much faster. So today's term, what a great way to start out the year, IEP. What on earth does this mean? You're going, if you have a child on the spectrum, you are going to hear this term. By the way, I have to say, our fabulous technical director, who I always refer to as being part Martha Stewart and part MacGyver, I love this new thing you have going, Emily. It's chalkboard with our jargon of the day. I absolutely love it. In any case, so let's take a look at what our actual definition for IEP. IEP stands for Individualized Education Plan or Program. Sometimes some schools say program. It is a federally mandated legal document that details education goals for a specific child within the special education scope. Okay. Well, you know what? That sounds like something really removed and that it doesn't have all that much to do with us, right? But it has everything to do with us. Whether you're a parent, teacher, or practitioner, this is supposed to be the pathway to whatever you want to get done. It isn't always treated that way, but it is federally mandated that it should be. So it gives us a whole lot of groundwork to build on. All right, let's take a look at what our working definition is. It's a written plan to educate a child with special needs that must be followed. It is the law. So usually when you have a child who has a diagnosis, there will come a time when the school district will get notified and they will get involved. Now, this can happen in lots of different ways depending on how your child comes to a diagnosis. It may be that you go and pursue a diagnosis because you see things going on and you want to know what's happening. There are times when a parent is still floating on that river in Egypt, you know, denial, and we all have been there, done that, myself included. There are some times when the school will see it first, like maybe your child is school age and struggling, and you'll have meeting after meeting with teachers, and teachers have to be very careful because they are not allowed to diagnose, right? And it's a very dicey thing, and a lot of teachers are told, do not use the word autism because the parents will freak out. It's unfortunate because sometimes there are teachers who could cut short a parent's period of time in which they're not getting stuff done. You know what I mean? It's a dicey thing. But in any case, there eventually a school can say to a parent, we'd like to get your child tested for some things. And a recommendation can be made for the child to have an IEP even before a diagnosis. So it may be you requesting the IEP from the school. It may be the school saying to you, we want to have an IEP meeting. It could happen either way. And in fact, there are lots of other ways that you can come to this. But there are parents that are out there who are so afraid of the IEP process and so afraid of a label being put on their child within a school system that they will avoid it. And I really want to say to you, if you're one of those parents, or if you have a spouse who's that parent, maybe you can watch this with them later. But the main thing is that our children deserve to get the help that they need, right? I don't think any of us, when we put it that way, if there's help that can be given to your child, do they deserve it? We're all going to say yes, right? And avoiding getting help because of fear of a label is unfortunate, and it certainly isn't helpful, right? So don't be afraid of an IEP. Don't be afraid of a label. Be more focused on how can I get help for my child. And if you've ever been frustrated because if you're being called to the school and they're saying your child is misbehaving and your child's been expelled, your child's been suspended, or your child's on, this, path that they're not going to be able to be here, and it can be boys or girls. And if you felt the frustration of, why aren't you doing something for my kid? The IEP really is the answer to that. Because once you have an IEP and a BIP, a BIP, a behavior intervention plan, can go with an IEP, then it gives everybody who interacts with your child a clear set of expectations, a clear guideline of how we behave when something happens. If your child is acting out, this is the course of action we take, and it becomes a legal roadmap. They must adhere to what it says in that IEP, and if they don't, it's actionable. And I know we don't want to be in a litigious society, but we are, and if that's what it takes to get your child help is a legal document, then of course, why not? Right? And I know lots of people who have had a diagnosis and had an IEP, and then their child no longer qualified for the diagnosis, no longer qualified for the IEP, went to another school and it did not go with them. They could close that record. So don't fear that it follows your child forever. There are ways around that. IEP really, it can be a very contentious thing, but once you get an IEP that's signed, that's proper for your child, it is the roadmap for success. When you think about how many hours a day you're with your child and how many hours a day they're with school, and of course, aren't we all reminded of this, how important it is for our children to be safe at school and to have education happening. And that's what the IEP does. It ensures that your child's being educated in a proper format, and that they're safe, and that people know how to interact with them that's productive. And once it's signed, it's legal, baby. And when a school is not in compliance with an IEP, and when you say to them you are not in compliance, that is when they start shaking and start doing things differently. So it can be a really powerful, powerful tool. Don't be afraid to go to your IEP meetings. We talk about it here a lot, things that you can do to help yourself. But if your child's struggling, they should have an IEP. All right, that is our word for the day, our phrase for the day. We also always ask a question of you as we start the morning. And our question of the day is for you, what was the best part of 2012? It's funny, I always talk about the fact that we write these things way in advance. And the other night, I was with my child, and we had gone away, and because we were visiting relatives, we were sleeping in the same bed, and he was just struggling going to sleep. And a lot of things happened in 2012 in our family, not the least of which was that my mother died just in December. And this was a very tough thing for everybody, and through the holidays it was a tough thing. And so I was lying there in bed trying to help my son to go to sleep, and he was very emotional. And he said, I just want to talk about it. He said some really horrible things happened in 2012. And I said, well, let's talk about it. Let's list what they were. And he went through, he had a couple of fish die, and of course his grandma died. And at one point his DS crashed, and he lost everything that was on his DS. And that was a very, emotional thing. And we talked about in the realm of things, what was worst, you know, and like on a scale of 1 to 10, what was a 10 and what was a 2. But he detailed a bunch of different things that happened in 2012. And once he did that and he was having some emotion about it, I said to him, that's true. All those things are true. But now let's talk about all the really good things that happened in 2012. And we were able to list twice as many really good things that happened in 2012 as opposed to the negative things. And it was a really amazing conversation because, of course, there was a time when I didn't know if I could have those kinds of conversations with my son. And because I find now that because of some of the things that my son has gone through, his perspective on things is just very, interesting and intriguing. And of course I'm his mother, so I'm especially interested. But his way of looking at things, and when we were all done, and he said, wow, he said, I hadn't really thought about how many wonderful things happened in 2012. And I was really reminded of something that we talk about a lot here with Evelyn Gould, who's a BCBA, a board certified behavior analyst, about how sometimes we only look through this small space and we see something that's true, that sometimes some really, you know, I'm sure that you guys had some bad things happen in 2012 too. And it's so easy to look through that tube and go, look at that. That's bad. That's and feel like it's all that there is. But when we make room for the fact that there was more to it than that, that it opens us up to a whole other world. So I think it's a good day to think about what were the best parts of 2012. What were the good things that happened in your family? What did you appreciate? Who did you appreciate? What was a big breakthrough? Because now we're looking at 2013 and we want to make some goals. I don't know how you feel about the whole resolution thing, but I think goals are a positive thing for our lives. And as an autism parent, for a lot of years, my goals were all about my child. There was a good 5 years where if you'd asked me what my resolutions were, I would have ticked off, these are the things that we're working on in our household this year that we're trying to make happen for Jem. And can I tell you that when I was that clear about it and wrote them down, and if somebody asked me and I could say, boom, this year is the year that he's going to ask a WH question, or this year is the year that he's going to be able to interact and do a conversation and do 7 back and forth. When I was that clear about it, we met those goals. And I've said many times, if I could apply that to the rest of my life, what could happen? And you know what? That's what 2013 is about for me. How can we take these tools, the things that we've learned from our children who have an autism spectrum diagnosis and that are hopefully getting the benefit of ABA or about to get the benefit of ABA, how can we take this now and help ourselves? So I'm really excited to be talking about that today and in the coming weeks. All right, we always have a topic of the week. And so our topic this week, and we're down to 1 day here, because that's how it happens. Our topic is getting organized. What can we do to get ourselves organized in a way that we can be the most productive that we can be, that we can show up for ourselves and for our families and for our kids and our community, and set ourselves up for success. You know, we talk a lot about executive functions for our kids and teaching them the steps to making sure that they can achieve a goal. That whether it's a goal of being on time to school, whether it's a goal of getting to college, whether, you know, it's a goal of getting their first job, or whether it's the goal of learning how to tie their shoes, that we know that there are many, many steps along the way and many opportunities to make choices that will either set us up for success or hinder our success. And being organized is just one of those little opportunities along the way. There are times when we can be successful without being organized, but if we set ourselves up for success in the best possible imaginable situation, we would be organized. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, how we can organize, and in particular, the dreaded paperwork. the avalanche of paperwork that comes into your life on a regular basis, no matter who you are, but then put autism on top of that, and you all know what I'm talking about. It's a deluge of paper, right? Well, we're going to talk about how we can get a little bit more organized with the paperwork. All right, some of the different things that we have, I don't know what I just did to my screen, there we go. Some of the different things that we're going to be talking about this morning. In just a minute, we are going to be joined by Robert Thornton from Paper Clouds Apparel. They have a campaign going on right now that's very near and dear to my heart, shall we say. And we're going to talk with him about what's going on and how you might want to get involved. We're going to talk a little bit about compliance if we have time, because we're also going to be talking about Miss America, which is tomorrow, and you know we're all excited about that. And then at the top of the next hour, via Skype, we're going to be joined by Dr. Jonathan Tarbox. Yes, he's in the building, but in case I've got the influenza A virus, we're keeping him someplace separate because he's very important and near and dear to us, and he has small children, so we're keeping it safe, right? Just in case. All right, all of that and more, but as we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Robert Thornton from Paper Clouds Apparel. Stick with us. Currently in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Grampichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
Did you have some guesses?
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christina Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have a very special guest joining us via Skype. We've had Robert Thornton on before from Paper Clouds Apparel and featured this company because we think that they're an amazing company with an amazing mission statement, but we've asked him to come back because they've got something in particular very exciting to me and to a lot of other people, actually. So, Robert, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
There he is. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm ecstatic to be on your show. So
well, you know I'm thrilled to have you here. Let's start by telling our viewers a little bit about what Paper Clouds Apparel is. What's your mission?
Our mission is obviously to spread awareness for the special needs community and show the world how talented, individuals with special needs, individuals with autism are, and just show off, everything that they can do, and really to help raise a self-esteem in the people with autism as well, and show them that people appreciate and really respect and love something that they created, and just really make them feel better about themselves while also, helping, create jobs as well, with what we do at Paper Clouds Apparel for individuals with special needs.
Absolutely. So you're a t-shirt company, but unlike any other t-shirt company, you partner with different organizations. Tell us what that is, what the interaction is, and what the culmination of it is.
Yeah, well, right now we're currently teamed up with CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorder, and what we did was we told them to send us some artwork of theirs. So they sent us. We asked for between 12 and 15 pieces of artwork, and then we send that out to our board of directors, and then they vote. And one piece gets chosen to go on a men's shirt, and then one piece gets chosen on a women's shirt. And all of our shirts are made of bamboo as well. So they
love that because it's so soft.
And and they're environmentally friendly. I mean, they're just such a better choice than cotton. I mean, they're a little bit more expensive, but we've managed to cut our costs so that we can still make them, affordable.
Absolutely. And so you partner with an organization, and they'll send you some drawings, and this period of time right now, we're showing your website right now, that you're working with CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and everybody watching knows that I'm a huge fan of CARD because they gave me back my child. They are the world's largest single entity that treats individuals on the autism spectrum, and they're an amazing organization. So you've partnered with CARD, but it isn't just with CARD, because I know that in a couple of weeks you're partnering with the Art of Autism, and
autism,
and you cover other special needs areas, not just autism, but for this period of time, these 2 weeks, you're really partnering with CARD, and that you asked for the people who are CARD clients to send artwork in. And I know that I was asked, because my son is a client of CARD, to send some work in, and we were shocked and amazed because my child, I do not consider him necessarily an artist, but he sat down and drew a robot that made me very excited, and that's what we sent to you. And that is now that one for the boys t-shirt. It is my son's artwork, so you can imagine I am the proudest mama on the block. And but you also have a beautiful drawing that was done by a little girl.
Oh, Ruby's drawing is fantastic.
It is. It's so exciting. I'm going to scroll down so that they can see some of the t-shirts, and they come in different colors. So it's Ruby is her name.
Yes.
And it's just so adorable, her little shirt. And then you can see the different colors for Gem's robot, and they come in children's t-shirts as well.
Our children's line as well. So.
And absolutely, when you say about self-esteem, can I tell you that my child is, even though he's got influenza A, he's walking around chest puffed out. He thinks that this is so amazing that his artwork is on a t-shirt.
Well, we're sending you out a free shirt for Gem as well.
So thank you so much.
I can't wait till he gets it to once we print these up here at the end of this 2-week block and get them sent out, I'm excited to see pictures, because we love our fans sending us in pictures, and we're actually going to put a new spot on our website calling it our family photos.
Oh,
so
great.
We want people to send them in, pictures of them wearing the shirts, and then we'll put them up on our website as well.
Well, and we want to encourage people to purchase these t-shirts for a couple of different reasons, because they're so incredibly soft and beautifully made, but because part of the proceeds goes to the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. This is really a fundraiser of sorts, is it not?
It is. But I think, from what I've learned, I think that's the secondary. I mean, I believe that the self-esteem and the sense of pride and giving them hope is the most important thing. I think showing individuals that may have autism that people treat a little bit differently, showing them that you're not different, that you've got these great talents and great skills, and you can do anything you want.
Absolutely, and I have to say it has had that effect on our child, but honestly, when he's talked to his friends about it, they've said, I want to do that too. I want to design t-shirts, and everybody's gotten very excited about it. So it really has been a thrill.
And I wanted to actually throw out an offer to all of your fans. We'll say the first 20 fans of yours that purchase a shirt, if they mention that they got the shirt and they saw us on Autism Live, we'll actually throw in an additional shirt in. We'll throw in one of our bamboo shirts from our first line.
Wow.
Add that we'll sweeten the deal. So they're getting a 2-for-1 deal for the first 20.
Okay, for the first 20.
First 20 that come and that buy a shirt and that mention that, that they found out about us from Autism Live.
Okay.
We'll throw in a free second shirt for them.
That's an unbeatable deal. That's absolutely wonderful. Well, Robert, I want to thank you so much from my family, because it really has been so exciting for us, and I want to thank you for everything that you're doing for not only the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, but so many other organizations and for so many individuals, and giving them so much hope. We want to remind everybody that they can go right now to our Facebook site and find a link to get to you on our Autism Live Facebook site, but they can also find you guys at papercloudsapparel.com. They
That's
can
correct.
easily order shirts there, and for the first 20, then you can get an extra t-shirt, which is a lovely, lovely thing, and we appreciate giving that offer to our viewers.
Oh, I'm happy to give them away.
And if somebody has an organization that they would like to pair with you, they can be in contact with you as well, Robert?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, they can contact us on Facebook at our Facebook page, or they can email us at just papercloudsapparel@gmail.com. And I'm always looking for new cool organizations, new special needs schools to team up with, and just help in any way that we can. And one of the main reasons why I want to just really get out as many shirts as possible is the fact that we actually hire individuals with autism, with Down syndrome. They package all of our shirts.
Wonderful.
So, I mean, the more shirts we sell, the more people we can hire. So make us have to hire some more people.
I love it. Robert, you're an inspiration. I thank you so much, and we're looking forward to hearing that you've sold a bunch of t-shirts.
That's the plan. So we'll keep on looking for those sales to come up here, and I'm excited to give away some free shirts to your fans.
Me too. And maybe we'll check in with you next week to see how it's going.
Oh, most definitely. I'm always open and always available. I love coming on your show.
Great. Paper Clouds Apparel, doing business the way it should be. Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Hope you feel better.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. Same
Bye-bye. So Paper Clouds Apparel, you can buy either of these wonderful t-shirts, and you can check out some of their other t-shirts, but they are limited edition, and you can only get these t-shirts for a short period of time. So it's this week and next week. papercloudsapparel.com, and for the first 20, order while they're hot. Do it now. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about Miss America, the pageant that's happening tomorrow night, and the very first ever contestant who actually has an autism spectrum diagnosis. Stick with us.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the beginning of a new year, which means the possibilities for new beginnings and starting new traditions. So I figured for the month of January, we should make a calendar for our kids to use. The focus of this project will happen with your children after it's completed. All you need to do to make the calendar is to go to facebook.com/autismlive to download the template I've already made for you guys. And then the other materials you'll be needing are a scissors and some magnets, which is super easy to find at your local craft store. Once you have your printed templates and you have your magnets, all you have to do is just take the paper and then assemble it onto the magnet. It's super easy. And then cut out all the shapes. That part is a little bit more tedious, but once you have that done, you're gonna have a calendar that you can use all year round for years to come. So let's get to it. Why is this calendar so cool? Well, first thing, it's that everything is completely modular, like I said before. So you can have your kids practice naming the days of the week and putting them in order. You can even ask them questions like, what month comes after January, for instance. Other things you can do with your child is having them, label the different seasons and then assigning the seasons to the correct months. So there's different ways you can use this based on your child's skill level. And what's cool about this calendar is as your child grows, so is the use value of this magnet calendar, because you can focus on more abstract things with your kid as they develop and work on simpler things with them when they first start working with it. And this is something you can always do every day of the week because the days change, right? So there's always an opportunity to visit the calendar and to use it in your daily lives. And these are just a few examples of the kind of activities you can do while playing with the magnet calendar. I hope you enjoy this activity, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Until then, craft on.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back. Now, tomorrow night is a very exciting event. Of course, it's Miss America. And I don't know about you, but it's been a number of years since I've actually caught the Miss America pageant when it was happening. I generally will see the next day who won, but this year they have my attention. And we will be sitting as a family and watching this pageant, and we've been watching a little more closely as it gears up because they give out awards before the actual event. And the reason why that they've caught our attention, this year we have our first ever contestant who officially has a diagnosis on the autism spectrum. And we put it that way because I suppose it's possible that somebody in the past has had a diagnosis and didn't know, or maybe was somewhere on the spectrum. But this year it's official. Alexis Wineman, who is Miss Montana. She is the youngest young lady in the pageant this year at the age of 18. She was diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder at the age of 11. She identifies herself as having Asperger's syndrome, and her platform is, of course, about autism, and her phrase is, "Normal is just a setting on the dryer." This young woman is especially impressive. She's absolutely beautiful, stunning, but she talks about her experience of being socially an outsider and how she overcame that by getting into cheerleading and other different events at her school that helped to build her self-esteem. And that not only was she battling her social deficit that comes with Asperger's syndrome, but she also has a speech impediment. And for her at the age of 18 to have come this far battling both those things, I think she's an inspiration to just about everybody on the planet. So we're especially excited to watch Alexis on Saturday night. We're pulling for her, hoping for the best. I'm really hoping that she's going to get into the top 14. We want to see her talent, which is a comedic monologue. She says, if you can't laugh at yourself, what are you doing? I absolutely love that. And I also want to note that it's not the only way that autism has affected this year's pageant. In fact, yesterday they made the announcement that one of those early awards, the Quality of Life Award, was given to Miss Alabama, Anna Laura Bryan from Alabama, and her platform was PAWS, P-A-W-S for autism, which stands for People and Animals Working Side by Side. And this young lady has been working for many years helping to pair assistant animals with individuals on the autism spectrum so that they can lead a better life. How amazing is it that autism has such a place in this year's pageant? It's a thing whose time has come. And of course, we're excited for Miss Alabama that her work has been recognized and that she won a $6,000 scholarship for that. Yay. And that will also reinforce her to continue the good work that she's doing. But we especially have a big shout out to Alexis. We want to wish her the best of luck, and we'll be pulling for her. And we hope that you will be also on Saturday night. It's on ABC. Check your local listings for what time it will be airing. It's coming live from Las Vegas. Keep your fingers crossed and show up for her. We know that if it was our kid, we would want the rest of the community to show up for our kids. So show up for Alexis Wineman on Saturday night, ABC, the Miss America, the 92nd Miss America pageant. Really very exciting. And we'll talk about all of that on Monday when we come back. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we have more exciting stuff to talk about with New Year's resolutions and how are we going to use ABA to set ourselves up for success. Stick with us.
DCF and DAC Gallery. Started in 1946. A group of parents had some children that they wanted to engage in productive activities.
Want to show us your artwork in the gallery?
Yeah.
Yeah, show us. I want to see. And the two top ones are yours?
Yeah.
Very cool. Are you proud of them?
Yeah. We actually work with about 150 students, and they're all special needs artists.
I like working with clay. Clay is my outlet because clay can mold in all kinds of shapes.
When they come to the program, they don't realize that the potential that they have of being great artists. And once they work with the professional artists that we have here, you know, they begin to discover that they do have talent. When they make that discovery of their talent, and when there are even some that have challenging behaviors, their behavior would change.
This is my third year here. This is like home sweet home. Like family, friends, they're like family, so I like it here.
Some have moved from here to go to college, even get jobs. That's great, and molding them to be the people that they never thought that they would be.
Welcome back to Autism Live. That's a new video that we're featuring. We have an amazing young woman who does Smarty for us, who is quite the artist, and she helped to make that video happen. And she is also, by the way, the filmmaker for The A Word. I'm talking, of course, about Suzanne Oshinsky, a very talented young woman. And I think it's especially in the forefront of my mind how important the arts are for our kids, and that we not discount their ability to learn and grow and perhaps teach us through the arts. We had people visit us over the holidays, and there are two framed pictures in our home of, I don't know if they have these all over the world, but here, especially in Southern California, they have these art centers where whenever you go to any kind of a festival or fair or something, they'll give you a free art class for your child. And I was so excited the first time we got one of those, and I took my child to it, and they want you to leave your child and not be there with them, which I wasn't comfortable with because he was already diagnosed. And, you know, I said, how much experience do you have working with kids with autism? 0. And so I didn't want to just leave him if he had challenging behavior. What were they going to do? And I didn't want to, you know, set us back. And especially if they gave attention to something that we had on extinction and they were really unhappy with me. But in any case, they allowed me to stay under duress, and I got to see sort of the mystery behind these prefab sort of artist studios, that it's a very formulaic, that they give the child a thing and they help guide their hands. So it's not so much your child's artwork, right? But it's beautiful. And you want to put it in a frame. It's absolutely spectacular. And somebody had warned me, a friend had warned me, you know, these things, it's just a thing because they show you this beautiful picture that your child drew, and anybody thinks, oh, my child's an artist, and you're going to pay for these very expensive art lessons. Be ready for that, right? It's a whole marketing tool to get the child in for one art class, and then hundreds of dollars later, they've got a regular art class. I thought, this is a wonderful thing. I didn't have the money for the regular art classes, but I was trying to figure out how we could do it because I thought, oof, this would be a wonderful. And to my dismay, when the art class was over, the teacher said, and thank you so much, but he's not right for our organization. Right? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, oh, we're just not equipped to deal with what he has going on, I think was the phrase that she used, which I was a little offended. And heartsick about it, because I really, literally was trying to figure out how I could afford to do it and could have been talked into it. And he wasn't welcome. And it was really a huge bummer. Now, and that was when he was very young. Okay, so we still framed the artwork, took it home, and said, well, you know, that's all there's going to be. Then a couple of years later, we go to another thing, and it was another company, and they're handing out the things. And I said, nah, I think we'll pass. Why? And I said, well, because we went to one of these a couple of years ago, and they said, we can't deal with your child. I said, oh, that's terrible. That's horrible. Who are these horrible, horrible people? We can do this, you know, sign up, bring your child, whatever. So we go and do it again, almost the same exact experience. And when they were done, the teacher said, yeah, no, he's not ready for this. We couldn't deal with this. You know, we have several kids in the class, and really a huge bummer because he had progressed so much at that point that I thought, oh, yeah, no, he probably could do it. No. So now we have the second picture that's framed. And people were at our house over the holidays, and they were kind of oohing and ahhing over these and saying he's an artist. And I said, well, you know, he is an artist. I'm just coming to that, but not from this. And I mentioned the thing about the T-shirt and the Paper Clouds T-shirt, and that when we were asked to submit some artwork, and many kids were going to submit artwork, I said, well, I'll sit down and I'll have him draw something, but I don't think you guys are going to be thrilled. And I sat down and I had stopped doing artwork with my child on a regular basis because he didn't find it reinforcing. Like, my kid never enjoyed coloring. It just wasn't. He'd sit and watch you color, but he didn't like the whole thing of coloring. He got impatient and he would scribble. And you can even see on his robot that when he went to color it in, he just does like an essence of it, doesn't want to fill things in. And but anyway, I sat down, put a piece of paper in front of him, and he drew this beautiful rocket, quite frankly, that I thought would have looked great on a T-shirt too. And then he drew the robot, and he did it in the 3D. You can see it on the Paper Clouds website. And I was really amazed. And I had no idea, and he had such a good time doing it, and I oohed and awed over it and gave him such reinforcement. And of course, Daddy came home, and he said, what are you going to do with this? I want to frame this. And I said, well, no, because they're asking for it. And my husband almost had a chest pain. He said, no, I want this picture. And so we scanned a copy of it because we didn't think anything was going to come of the T-shirt thing, and we were going to lose the picture because we had to send the original in. And of course, now it's on a T-shirt. But it was a real awakening for me about realizing that our kids change over time, and that it's okay to revisit things, and how important it is to revisit the arts. And when I said to my son, because he had such a good time doing it, and I said, why did you enjoy this so much? And he said, because you told me, you know, what it was for, that it needed to be a certain size. And so I hadn't given him all the format before. If I just sat down and said draw, that was too open-ended for him. But that if I gave him a specific for him, that made it more fun for him. So I throw that out to you, how important, and we, in a couple of weeks, we're going to do a whole week on the art of autism, a wonderful, wonderful organization. And I want to encourage all of you to help your child to find what is reinforcing to them about art, because I think that it is something that's very powerful, and I'm relearning that. So I wanted to throw that out to you. Okay, switching gears here a little bit. I promised that we were going to talk about New Year's resolutions and about getting organized, because that is our topic for the week. And I think that the first thing, you know, I quote Dr. Phil from time to time, and you would think that I'm a huge Dr. Phil fan. I'm not. And I don't dislike him. Let's say that. But I don't compulsively watch Dr. Phil. You know, I compulsively watch Oprah. I don't watch Dr. Phil as much. But the thing about Dr. Phil, the reason why I quote him is because Dr. Phil is very ABA. The things that he suggests a lot of times are right out of the ABA playbook. And so that's why they're things that you've heard, and I know that you relate to them because they're Dr. Philisms, like, you know, what's your paycheck for this behavior? But one of the things that Dr. Phil says on a regular basis is you got to name it to claim it. And if we are not able to succinctly know what it is that we want to accomplish, let's just say that logic follows that we're much less likely to achieve it if we don't know what it is. Sometimes it just happens and you go, wow, I didn't even know that I was going for that, and it just happened. But that's really the rare circumstance. It's more likely that you say, you know what I really want to do is this, and because it's in the forefront of your mind, and especially then if you plan, then you're more likely to achieve what you want to achieve. So as we look at 2013, and I'm going to be checking in with you guys on a regular basis, I want you to start to think about, what do you want to achieve this year? What do you want to achieve in a lot of different areas? What do you want to achieve for your child? And it can be something that's specific, a skill that you want your child to obtain, or a service that you want them to start, or to have a teacher that interacts with them in a certain way, right? I think it's really important that we have those goals for our kids. But then I'm going to ask you bigger questions about, what do you want to achieve in all of your relationships? What do you want to achieve for yourself personally? What do you want to achieve for yourself physically? What do you want to achieve for yourself creatively? And then, you know, fill in the blank. What is there after that? Is there stuff that you want to achieve career-wise? What are the things that you would like to look back at when we're on January 11th of 2014? What do you want to be able to say happened in 2013? What kinds of things? And it's okay to visualize. It's okay to think about it and go, wow, you know, I really want to say on that day that we had at least 8 months of ABA therapy, that we got that started, because we want to be realistic, right? But start to dream a little bit about the kinds of things that you want to do. And then our theme for this week is talking about getting organized. And getting organized can be a lot of different things. It can be getting your car organized, right? It can be getting your purse organized, your briefcase organized, your closet organized, your underwear drawer organized, your silverware drawer organized, right? It can be in really microscopic levels. It could be just taking the files that are on your computer desktop and putting them in categories so that you're not having to search through the whole desktop to find the document that you're looking for. But also we want to get organized about our goals. And I hesitate to say resolutions, because to me resolutions are something that happen, and then very few people on March 15th are dealing with the resolutions anymore, right? So I'd rather talk about goals, our goals for 2013, and what would we need to do to sharpen our pencils to get started working on those. So for instance, I will tell you, and I'm being really upfront and honest here, I have got to get more exercise in 2013. I just have to. It's no longer one of those things that it's like, well, it would be nice. It has to happen. But there are some things. First of all, I have to be able to breathe, and I got a little bit of a cold thing going on. But still, I've been trying to do some stretching to get myself ready. But I have to make sure that I know where my good workout shoes are, and I have to know where my sweatpants and my shirts are to be doing that kind of stuff, so I can get myself organized And for me, if I have to go hunt that stuff out, it's much less likely to happen, right? So I'm setting aside a very special drawer that is just workout stuff, and that it's not so jammed full that I can't get it open, because I've done that before in the past, but that it has stuff that's in there so that it's easy to find. I know exactly where things are. So that's an example of, saying, here is what I want to be working on. Of course, I've got to get much more specific about what is getting more exercise, because I got to name it to claim it. And I'm going to be working on that. And I hope that you will write in and say what kinds of things you're wanting to work on and how you're getting yourself organized. I mentioned that we were going to talk a little bit about the paperwork getting organized, though, because, I don't know about you, but paperwork can sink my battleship faster than almost anything else. And there's so much paperwork that comes with autism. And so we're going to be talking about some tips of things to do, but one of the first things that we want to consider, if it's monetarily possible, is getting a really easy feed scanner that scans documents. Because if we can eliminate paper and have it in a safe place where we have the documents but eliminate the paper version of it, we're going to save ourselves a lot of time and energy. Did you know that paper actually sheds and it adds to lint and stuff in our environment? I didn't know that until recently. So we really want to cut down on paper. It's going to be more ecologically sound, even to the point where with an IEP, they're going to give us a hard copy, but if we end up having to get a second copy, we're going to ask for it emailed to us and encourage ourselves not to print as much. But if you can, and in fact, it's one of the things in the first 100-day kit that Autism Speaks always has advocated for, and you know what? I couldn't afford it when I was on that day for autism. They encourage you to get a scanner that you just put in the 30 papers and it'll scan up to 30 papers instantly without you having to lift up a lid. And I said, who can afford that, right? But I gotta say to you, if it's at all possible, or if there's a thing where people are asking, what can we do for you? Find a used one. It's a very beneficial thing. If you can do that, great. If you can't, then I would set aside a series of file folders and a place in your file cabinet that is just for autism. That there's one folder for IEP, that there's one folder just for medical, there's one folder that's just for ABA, and then you will see that there will be other things that will come along. Maybe you have to have a folder for OT, maybe you have to have one for speech, maybe you have to have one for APE, maybe I have one that's just for diagnosis. But set aside that space, and I would also encourage you to have those individual file folders, but to have a slush folder, so that on the day when you get something and you're about to set it on the counter where it's going to add to all that paperwork that stacks up, that you say to yourself, no, I have a place to put this. It's not the final resting place for it, but this is my autism slush folder. And anything that you get before you have a chance to file it, you put in there. Even if you get to 2014 and you haven't put all those things in the individual file, if you need it, you're going to know where it is, instead of going through the countertop for it. How many times in life have I wasted an hour looking for a piece of paper because I didn't do that? So giving yourself at least that. Now, of course, there's lots of things that we can do to organize all of our paperwork, but let's just start today, small amounts, with saying that we're going to organize our 2013 autism paperwork. It may mean that your house is full of the 2012 paperwork, right? And if that's the case, you can make yourself a 2013 slush folder, and you can make yourself a every other year before slush folder, and as you find those pieces of paper, once you pick it up, put it in that slush folder and know that it's there at least. And having a file cabinet, whether you look on Craigslist and get a used one, you go and buy an inexpensive one, or spend way too much money buying a brand new one, or you already have one. But if you're not going to get the scanner to put it in your computer, then definitely invest in a file cabinet, right? Peace of mind. Okay, we have to take a break, and as we go to break, we want to show you the A word. We're back sort of towards, we're moving more towards the middle. He's about 3 months into ABA therapy at this point. Please realize that this is going back quite a distance in time. That in actual time, Jack Riley is now 4 years old. But what we're going to see today is him when he's about 2.5, and how really possible it is when we're doing ABA, intensive early ABA, to see progress fairly quickly. Doesn't mean it's easy, and it's certainly not easy on the family, but take a look. This is the A word and Jack Riley.
Okay, now you try doing it. So with same. Go ahead. Go with same. Like this. Watch. That's put with same. You try. Put with same. Right here. Yeah, there he goes. That's the same. It's a helicopter. Very good.
If you're going to describe like ABA to another parent, what would it be?
The whole point of ABA is that you teach him how to teach himself. And I don't know that is necessarily, I guess I didn't realize that was supposed to happen from the beginning. I thought that now it was all a lot of work with him, and then later he would start to figure out how to do it for himself, but he's already doing it. And you know, repetition is the underlying thing, because for, I think, young kids in general, but certainly with kids with autism, it takes them a little more time.
Touch car. No, try again. Try again, okay? Yes. Okay. Last one. Touch car. Yeah, touch it though. Touch car. Good, what is it? What is this? What is this? Yes, car, okay.
And I don't think we completely appreciate how much work he's doing to learn, because it's normal for us too. I mean, this is what he has to do to learn these things, so it's now become normal for us.
It's still hard to sit out here and listen to the monitor and hear them repeatedly ask him to do something where he's upset and he's crying, but it always works out. It's a reminder of just don't give up, because he always eventually accomplishes what they're asking, and then I hear the reward. I hear him jumping up and down and them cheering.
You have the monitor, so you know what's happening. Does that make a huge difference for you?
I like to know. It was hard at first to hear him, have a problem.
Yeah, it's easy when he's doing great to have the monitor. It's hard when he's struggling and crying.
And in the beginning, it was hard too, because.
Well, I always thought at the beginning, should I go help?
That's how we did it, because we had speech therapy and occupational therapy to start with, and if he cried, then we made it better, and we were encouraged to make it better. If he was crying with the speech therapist, something wasn't right. It was different when ABA started. Crying was sort of part of the game.
Yeah, I met a guy who at not an ABA thing, orientation that basically told me ABA, yeah, they're paid to piss your kid off. So I try to remember that. They're paid to piss him off.
Right, I noticed one day, like, he was really pissed off, and that was because he wanted to poop. And,
yeah,
you know?
that was actually a rough day for us, because we felt like we'd abused him almost. Really?
I mean, I got what she was trying to do with him. I understood that, he wasn't being compliant, but then once we realized what it was that he wanted, it was just
he just wanted a moment to go sit in a corner, and us adults, we would say, see ya. But no.
Well, and I took him back, and when I was changing him, the whole conversation he and I had was, all you have to do is tell us, and I had him repeat, 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, that was a bad day though for us, because we felt like we had let him down.
Well, and
do you think? Yeah,
and how and I've thought about it probably a dozen times.
He must have been miserable. He was really upset, and.
But would it have been the right thing for us to rescue him and be like, you know what, can we just let him go? And I don't know what the right answer is.
Well, we didn't think of it, and they didn't think of it. We didn't
know.
We didn't know what he was trying to do, and
we didn't know if he was just being ornery or if.
but it's a thought now. I mean, that's as hard as he'd fought anything for a long time.
I sat there even thinking that it's like, you know what, it's hard, and it's somebody else's kid, and mom and dad are sitting right here, and he's screaming, and she had to keep doing it to show him what it was that she wanted him to do.
Yeah.
And you know, that's not easy, and I respect that.
Yeah, she had a hard time, I'm sure. I mean, it's got to enter their mind that mom and dad are right here, and I'm pushing him so hard that he's. I almost heard a couple 4-letter words from a kid who doesn't talk really.
But you know, that was good for us to see too. That it's like, because we don't know how far to push him when he's behaving.
But we also have to remember that we're the parents, and that well, maybe there's something else going on. That's a lesson there for us. Is that maybe we should have. Well, and next time.
We've even acted differently since then. That if we see him going into the corner, we're trying to give him words, you know, to tell us what it is that he's doing, so that the next time something like that happens, if he needs a minute, that he can
I never thought I'd have
it.
This conversation, but you know, you just, Jack, can you just say poop? I'm pooping. Can you say that? And it's you know, that would never happen again if he gets that skill. That would never happen again. Daddy, you got to poop, or daddy poop, or whatever. Mommy poop.
Like kids.
He's getting there.
Kids do, and he's
learning.
He's definitely learning the value of words.
Yes, he is. He's learning that he gets not necessarily everything he wants. He gains from his vocabulary now. He gains specifics.
How about you guys? Like, you talk about how he's adjusting and getting better. How have you guys been adjusting to diagnosis, the therapy, the
We're good.
30 hours over top of your 30 hours?
We're good.
It's all good.
No. I'm just physically tired. That's other than that. Strangers that used to come into our house are now friends. You know, it's not the same thing.
And I think it's become our normal. I don't think we would be. Well, we'd be sad for obvious reasons if it ended, because we want our son to get all the help that he can get. But yeah, to have a week without people coming in, I think would be like really cool.
We'd be okay with it. But having said that, we love everybody that comes into our house.
And it just is what it is, and we see such progress in him that I don't think the inclination to be free is strong enough to override the inclination to continue to watch his progress.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, if we're being completely honest, and this is the hard part of the honest part, but they help us. We've gotten great advice, and if we have issues, we can ask, and we have somebody to ask every single day, and that's all good. But on the flip side, there are definitely the days too where it's like, do we do anything right?
Yeah. There's days where
there's too many suggestions where it's like
suggestions are. It's easy to suggest when you spend 2 hours or 3 hours with somebody and go home or go to another child. Well, I got him for the next 21 hours too after you leave. Sometimes there's too many suggestions, and they don't mean anything negative.
No. I mean, some of the suggestions, even if you roll your eyes and when you first get it, like, pause this movie and see if he'll take a bite. Yeah, right. Sure, he will. And then he does.
Yeah.
So we've learned enough.
Which kind of pisses you off.
It's like, wait a minute.
It kind of pisses me off when they're right all the time.
But I did the pausing.
Yeah, I paused it.
I did.
You didn't pause it. I did.
And
every once in a while we'll whisper under our breath, really. And then it works usually. So it's just a defense mechanism, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, or we feel like Jack, I think sometimes too, that we've lost a lot of control of our world these days.
I'm enjoying him much more because he's not as scary to me. As I learn more about autism and about his steps forward, it's less intimidating to me. As we get more skills on how to deal with the rough times, it's less intimidating to me. And I pick him up, he puts his head on my shoulder for 25 seconds, and that's like my favorite 25 seconds. And then of course he looks around and then I put him down, but for 25 seconds he just puts his head here, which he doesn't always do. Lately he's been doing it a lot. I like that.
Absolutely.
Very good, very good. That's good.
Yeah?
Yeah. You got it? No.
How old are you?
12.
Just joking.
I told you.
Love this family. You got to have a sense of humor about this stuff. And I love the fact that they're so willing to be honest about the fact that there are days when, while they appreciate that's everything that's being done and all these great therapists that are coming to their door, that there are days when it would not be amiss if they just didn't have services for a week. Now, I know that there are some of you who are watching who are saying, my goodness, I'm doing everything I can to be able to have, you know, half of what they have. And, you know, I will tell you, though, that I know that if you set yourself that goal, that will happen. And when it does, there will be a day when you will say, what happened to my previous life? You know what I think about all the time is that, remember that month before you have your first child, and whether you adopted or you were walking around with a tummy, and every place that you saw, people said, oh, you have no idea how much your life is going to change, right? And my husband and I used to sit there and like hold on to each other at night and go, what do you think they mean by that? What on earth are they talking about? And finally I said to somebody, they're like, oh, you have no idea how much your life is going to change. And I said, you're right, we do have no idea. It sort of feels like we're, going off a cliff and we have no idea what's going to happen. We know our whole life is going to change, but until it does, you don't know what it's going to look like. You can't know that, how different your life is. And then about a year in, when you're around friends who also had kids around the same time, and you think, and somebody finally says it at a party, they say, what do we do with our lives before? When we had all that free time, when you could just go to the bathroom whenever you, what on earth did we do with all that free time? And you can't even imagine. For us starting ABA, it was a little bit that same thing, that we had been told by a bunch of families, oh, you're going to love this, it's going to be amazing. But until you start it, it feels like, and everybody says it's going to change your whole life, your whole schedule's going to change, the way in which your household functions, everything's going to change. But until you start it, you don't know what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like. You can't. And of course, if you're a living, breathing human being, there is going to be some resentment that comes with it. I think if we, let go of feeling like we have to be perfect and that we have to be in deep, deep gratitude for everything that happens, and allow ourselves for the fact that this is intrusive upon your life. Yes, you want it. Yes, you're going to grab it with both hands and allow these people to come into your home to help your child. But there are going to be days when it's frustrating. I always love to tell the story of being out with my mom and shopping one Christmas, and we were always on a timer, and I said to her, I said, okay, we need to get your purchases and get in the line, because we need to get back. We have a therapist that's going to meet us at the house in 15 minutes. And she'd been through this maybe 150 times. I'd been through it maybe 10,000 times at this point. But I remember very distinctly right at that moment when I was saying to her, tick-tock, we got to get in line here. I got a call saying that the therapist had a flat tire and she wasn't going to make it, and that they would reschedule later on in the week. And so I got off the phone and I said to my mom, I said, well, because it was an old flip phone at that time. I said, well, you've gotten a reprieve because the therapist isn't going to make it. And my mother, my elderly mother, literally jumped up and down and said, oh my goodness, we can do whatever we want. And I hugged her and I said, yes, we can. You got a little treat today, but let's remember that the reason why we do this therapy is because it's what's helping Jem. And she was like, yes, no, of course, but an afternoon off, we can do what we want. And it brought it all home to me that, I'd gotten very used to that. Our schedule is our schedule is our schedule. So it can be a little bit oppressive, but as you heard them say, so very worth it. I do think it's important to talk about your feelings of frustration, though. Because, and I can remember a couple of different occasions where I, got, as we say in my house, fatutzed, and I said at one point to my fabulous case supervisor, I said, sometimes it's a little tiring parenting by committee. And I think she was, she was a little horrified. She was like, what do you mean? And I said, because, we're all talking about what we're going to do about this, but, we're the parents and we have to carry out. Yes, of course. And she was always very sensitive to that, but I got a little fatutzed, and you will. But as these parents said, part of the reason why you're fatoutsed is because almost 100% of the time they're right. Right. It's your kid and they're right. Quality problem, right? In any case, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined via Skype by Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, and we're going to start talking about how we can take ABA and apply it and how other people have applied it to their circumstances to be able to achieve goals, not only for our kids, but for us as well. But it's a great opportunity, too, for you guys to ask questions. If you have questions of him, he is a wonderful, wonderful resource. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back with Dr. Jonathan Tarbox. Stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are joined via Skype by Dr. Jonathan Tarbox right now. Dr. Tarbox, are you there?
I sure am.
Thank you so much for being willing to do this on this day. I mentioned earlier to the viewers that we're in the same building, but we're Skyping because my son has influenza A, and we don't, if I've been exposed to it, we don't want to expose anybody else to it, and especially because you have an itty-bitty baby at home.
That's right. Yep, 9-month-old baby at home.
Yes, who I'm dying to meet, but not this week. Yes. But so thrilled to have you with us, and I want to remind everybody, if they're a new viewer, that you are the head of research and development here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and you are also the director of the Autism Research Group, 2 really important titles that you hold, and you are a wealth of information about autism and about research, and you've been a leader in the field of autism now for quite a period of time, more than a decade, and so we're thrilled to be joined by you. And I want to start, we had somebody write in a question about something going on, and we're just going to get your opinion on it.
Great.
So for our viewers at home, somebody wrote in and said, need help. Great. My son is 3, just started preschool 3 days ago. First day went okay. He didn't cry when I dropped him off, but did during the day. Second day, he cried again. Daughter just attempted to drop him off. As soon as they pulled into the parking lot, he cried. He cried getting out of the truck and going up to the class. He cried in the class, then he threw up. She took him to the bathroom to clean him up, and he threw up again. Teacher thinks it might be stomach flu. Mommy intuition tells me he's freaking himself out and getting so upset that he's making himself sick. Then again, if he is getting sick, it would explain why he was so clingy last night. And then there's an unhappy face and says, I wish I could be home with him right now. Suggestions with lots of question marks at the end of that. So I'm going to show that question on the screen right now. What do you think, Dr. Tarbox?
Well, the first thing that I would always recommend, regardless of whether your child's on the spectrum or not, is if your child's showing symptoms of being, medically ill, definitely consider that first. That's always the first thing you want to deal with. So if he's throwing up, it's entirely possible that he's sick, right? So he may well have the flu. A lot of people have the flu right now. So I would say, right? I would say keep an eye on that. If he still seems like he has symptoms of being sick, get him to the doctor. That's the number one thing. Let's say she, takes him home and he's totally fine. No, no runny nose, no temperature, nothing else. And so she's thinking, well, okay, there's really no reason to take him to the doctor. He's not showing any other symptoms other than the fact that he threw up twice at school on the second or third day that he first started attending school for the first time. It's certainly possible. I mean, I've seen plenty of times that a kid does, again, with or without autism, a kid simply does get upset and has some anxiety, being in a new environment, especially starting a new school. And we've certainly seen kids who, if they cry enough, can actually work themselves up into throwing up.
Yeah.
And, usually it's not on purpose. Usually it's unintentional.
Yeah.
We certainly have seen that plenty of times. So, sometimes it's even a matter of crying so rigorously that, mucus starts to come out and the kid will actually kind of choke and gag on their own mucus and their own tears, unintentionally. And so that can lead to vomiting. So, first rule out the medical situation. If it is because of sort of stress due to starting the new school, do your due diligence. Make sure that the school is doing what they should be doing. Lots of positive reinforcement and happy, fun environment. Make sure the kid has proper supervision. And if all of that's the case, then I would say, give it another shot for a few more days and keep your eye on it. It's a perfectly normal reaction for a kid to feel a little bit stressed out when they first start school for the first time. I mean, of course, they'd rather be at home with their parents.
Yeah.
Of course, they'd rather be just hanging out in a familiar environment at home rather than meeting all these new peers and new teachers and new environment. So it's natural to cry and it's natural to be scared, and it's also natural to get through that.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit before we started on the air about I'm a horrible judge of when my child is actually sick or not. I just, as a parent, I don't, and I'm not a good judge of knowing whether I'm sick either, if I'm honest about it. So I hate it when somebody else is looking at my child and saying they're sick and I don't know. It's really, really difficult. And I was sharing with you that I just went through this the other day, that as we went to get on a plane to come home, my child, who had been perfectly fine, threw up. And everybody's looking at me like I will know the answer of, does this mean that he has a virus or does it not? And I always feel my most incompetent when my child appears to be getting sick because I just don't know. Is that pretty much, I mean, you're a parent too, is that pretty
I think that's fairly common, yeah. I mean, I'm no expert, but I would say, yeah, it's not easy to tell, and especially if you have a kid on the spectrum who, communication by definition is a challenge, and so it's likely that your kid is not able to really tell you how he or she feels on the inside, and even typically developing kids really are not very good at that yet. Frankly, a lot of adults are not very good.
I was going to say, I'm not.
So yeah, I think that's pretty common. I mean, the important thing to remember though is, and again, I have to remind folks I'm a behavior doctor, not a medical doctor.
Yes.
But the important thing to remember is if your kid is having mucus and is sort of feeling down and feeling tired and is congested, no reason to go to the doctor. That's probably a cold.
Right.
If mucus starts to become green or yellow in color, and or if your child has a fever, significant temperature, then at that point, okay, maybe it's, could be a bacterial infection, might be worth going to the doctor. And of course, schools always have their policies about, usually it's 24 hours without a fever, so you bring your kid back in. But if they're just kind of feeling tired and congested, it's probably just a cold, which a lot of us get, on a frequent basis.
Right.
And it could just be allergies too. So
absolutely.
No need to freak out really until, until you see that temperature or the green mucus.
Okay, well, great advice about ruling out the medical first for this parent, and looking at, but the fact that this isn't that out of the norm, because I think a lot of times our stress level goes up because we go, what's happening, and am I linking things up to things, am I making it worse, am I making it better? But too early to tell in a lot of respects at this point, especially with an influenza epidemic. Okay, very good. I mentioned to you that one of the things that we're going to be talking about a lot here on the show this week and in the coming weeks as we start a new year are resolutions and goals, not only about our kid and what we want our kid to be able to achieve in terms of progress, but also for ourselves. It's the time of the year when we all kind of reevaluate, and I'm intrigued by this idea. I've said it before that if I ever took the same attitude that I took to my son's autism, and that we were going to do this and we were not going to give up, failure was not an option, that if something happened we were just going to find the way to it, if I were to apply that to other areas of my life, I don't know what could happen. I literally don't know. And and part of my thing for 2013 is to try that for myself, but to open this up to all of our parents to say, what do they want to work on for themselves? Whether it's quitting smoking, exercising more, changing jobs, changing their stress level. I would imagine that all of those things are achievable with the principles of ABA.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit from your point of view about some of those things and what kind of recommendations you would make for adults trying to use ABA for themselves.
Okay, all right. Well, it's a big topic, but I'll try to take a bite out of it.
Okay.
A major thing that all of us who are, typically developing adults who have, language, do is talk to ourselves about our own behavior and talk to ourselves about our world, right? About our environment, about our lives. The most common thing to do, so if there's something that you want to accomplish, the reason why it's there is because it's not necessarily fun to just do it automatically, right?
Right.
So if you're overweight and you want to lose weight, the reason why that's there, it's plain and simple. There's no miracle cure. There's no, mystery there. The reason that it's there is because you need to exercise more and you need to eat less calories. That's just the way it works for all human beings. There's no, that's just the way it is. And of course, genetics plays a role, obviously. I'm not denying that. And of course, your environment plays a role. So if you're working, too many hours, it's hard to get to the gym, all that. I'm not blaming the person by any means, but I am saying it's fairly straightforward. And so the solution is fairly straightforward. You need to exercise more and eat less. So, what we do very frequently is come up with reasons, right? Assign reasons why we are or are not going to do something. So I would just say this. If you expect that you should be able to make a major behavior change and have your life sort of feel like it normally does, then you're going to be disappointed every time.
Yeah.
Because if you say, you know what, I'm going to hit my elliptical, every night for 20 minutes, let's say, or at least 5 out of 7 nights for 20 minutes before bed, right? And you make that goal. Well, each night, I absolutely guarantee you're going to be able to find a great sounding reason to not do it.
Yeah.
And, let's face it, we're busy, we're tired. You will have good reasons to not do it. And if you want your life to be the same as it normally is, then it's going to be the same as it normally is. You're not going to do something different, right?
Right.
So each night you're going to have, or each day, you're going to have a good reason to not do the behavior that you've set for your goal. And one thing is just kind of following rules. It's just like, well, yeah, okay, actually, it doesn't really matter what the reason is. 20 minutes less sleep, that's going to be awful. I'm going to be tired. Well, yeah, okay, I guess that's it. I don't get to watch my favorite show or something. Well, yeah, I guess that's it. It's cold outside and I don't really feel like it. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, again, the example of your son is a perfect example. Like, what if you said, well, my son needs to learn language and he really needs this ABA therapy, but it's just kind of inconvenient. I'm kind of tired.
Right.
I worked really hard today. I deserve to have a break. Well, yeah, of course you do. What, do you want him to learn language? Get him in the therapy, right?
Right.
So it's kind of in, I don't want to get too technical about it, but in ABA language, we sort of talk about decreasing the effectiveness of rules that we continue to follow in our lives that sort of ineffective or sort of tired. So you're always going to be able to come up with an excuse. You're always going to be able to come up with a rule. But a new, more effective rule might be something like, it's going to happen, period.
Right.
And other things will change, period. So if you need to get less sleep, you're going to get less sleep. And once you start the pattern of behavior, you're much more likely to continue it. Whereas if you just talk to yourself about it, think about it a lot, you're never going to get started.
Absolutely.
So that's one.
You reminded me, because I remember years ago going to a doctor and saying, I really got to lose some weight. And the doctor saying, well, then you got to exercise more and eat less. And I really wanted to bonk him in the head because I was so offended. I consider myself a relatively intelligent person. And I was like, if it was that easy, right. I know that that's the truth of it. But what occurred to me when you said that, because then I went away and was able to lose a substantial amount of weight. And I was just thinking about, well, what was different about it? And what was different about it was that I was given replacement behaviors, things that you guys talk about all the time. And it was thinking different things and doing different things when I wanted to do that other thing.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to talk to you specifically because you're a big, you speak a lot to parents, you're a wonderful speaker, and you talk about realities of life. And that one of the things that I know that I've talked to you about before, and we just saw this video of the A word where the parents were sitting there and talking about what it's like having ABA in your house and how wonderful it is and how exciting it is, but sometimes it's not. Because sometimes it's a drag, and sometimes, and they were saying, sometimes they feel like they're never going to get it right, and that their whole life has changed. And you're somebody who I've heard you say before that it's possible to be doing ABA and to enjoy your children at the same time. And I think that this is something that we need to talk more about with the people watching. So give us a little insight of your point of view on this subject.
Okay, thanks for asking that question. I think it's really important. In ABA, we oftentimes, sort of our training, honestly, for professionals is figure out what behavior needs to change, arrange the environment so it changes, right? If the kid needs to learn something, figure out how to teach it to them. That's it. That's what you need to do. And that's great. That's why we're so effective, because there's no excuses. That's how we know we're doing our job. Did we make the behavior change occur? Did we get the kid to learn the skill that he needs to learn? Did we decrease the challenging behaviors? And that's great. All of that's great. But there's other components to the whole picture as well, right? And so, if you really just take a micro focus on particular behaviors at particular times without considering the behaviors of everyone else involved, right? So parents, family members, siblings, etc., and frankly, without considering just kind of how you feel about it, you're going to create an environment that is just overly stressful for everyone. And that's nothing specific to ABA. That's really, you could say the same thing about anyone that just works too hard. So they're focused on is work, 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 work. Well, great, you're getting promoted, you're making a lot of money, but let's take a look at the rest of your life. How's the rest of your family doing? And so it's the same thing, right? So let's say you have a child on the spectrum, you're super focused, you're super dedicated to making this kid make as much progress as possible in the ABA program. And so you're sort of constantly viewing the world of your child's behavior as, is he doing the right thing or the wrong thing? And do I give him a reinforcer or not? Or do I prompt him or not? Or do I do extinction or whatever, right? And that's all great. You need to do that. But in an overall larger context of good quality of life and having fun in life too. And so, one thing that I see develop constantly, and I'm certainly guilty of this myself as a parent, is when you're so focused on behavior change that you want to see, you sort of become grouchy if you don't see that. Or when there's evidence of the thing that you don't want to see, that sort of makes you be grouchy. And so, and again, this isn't anything specific to ABA, but just as a parent in general, it's very easy to sort of become always a little bit looking for your kid to do something wrong, and always a little bit grouchy about, well, is he doing what he's supposed to be doing? And the thing is The fact of the matter is, there's no research to suggest that being grouchy with your child will get your child to behave better.
Yeah.
It's not part of ABA. Being stressed out and being frustrated and being at your wit's end and showing that to your kids is not part of ABA.
Yeah, and in actuality, we talk all the time about when we're going for compliance training about catching them doing something good, the complete opposite of that.
Absolutely.
And then it's hard that that's a hard habit, but that has been shown to be effective where the other has not been shown to be effective. So interesting.
Right. And you know, even as something as simple as, okay, you know, if you complete your homework tonight, then you earn some kind of, minor reward, like a little bit of extra, video game time or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when the kid, let's say the kid's successful with it, and you say, oh, awesome, you did your homework, that's so great, let's go play some video games, and you have a positive attitude about it, and it's great, right? Well, let's say on a different night, for whatever reason, your kid doesn't complete the homework, and he doesn't earn the extra video game time. That's not an opportunity for you to be upset and to be disappointed and grouchy. That you can be neutral about that. I mean, the cool thing about ABA is if it's done properly, the consequences do all the work for you. You don't need to be in a bad mood about it. Regardless of whether or not you're in a good mood or bad mood, if the consequences you're using are effective, in other words, the positive reinforcers are motivating enough, you don't need to be grouchy when the kid doesn't earn the reinforcer. You just say, well, okay, not tonight. We'll try again tomorrow, and move on to the next thing.
It seems to me to be a perfect example of that is the battle that happens at the dinner table, because one of the things that I've learned through ABA is that I don't have to battle with my child about what he eats or what he doesn't eat. If I set it up and say, here's what happens if you eat this, here's what happens if you don't, here's the rewards you get if you do eat it, then it's the end of the discussion, and I don't have to have any feelings about it at all.
That's right.
And there's no, like pulling taffy kind of thing at the dinner table. There's no war. There's no discussion about it. It does just do itself.
That's right.
If I've been clear about it.
And meal times tend to be particularly emotional for parents.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because there's nothing worse than seeing your kid not eat the nutrition that he needs. It's stressful, right? But yeah, it's, there's nothing special about meal times. Meal times work the same way as everything else, which is if there's powerful enough motivation, the behavior is going to happen. So you just set up the motivation, and that's it, and let it do its magic.
Yeah, I think mealtime, especially because food for me encompasses everything, because there is the element of, am I nutritionally taking care of my child? There is also the component of it that's just the emotional thing of, am I taking care of my child? There's a financial component to it, because if your child doesn't eat this food, then you wasted that money. There's the, I invested my time in cooking this for you, and you're saying no to it and me. I mean, it's just
very emotional.
Very, very power-packed. But it doesn't have to be, we can just, like you said, lay out the ground rules, and then it kind of drives itself. Absolutely amazing. And so for parents, and I'm thinking about our circumstance, because I certainly dove into ABA and wanted to understand and wanted to look at everything for a period of time. I still am learning. I don't mean to make it sound like I've figured it out, because I so have not. But I was intrigued, whereas my husband was a little less intrigued. I think we could say that, and he would say that that was fair. And we've had conversations before about the fact that if we're going someplace, I get better behavior from my son than he does, but he does have more fun with my son than I do. And that's a bit of a... Even the other day, I was trying to be silly with my son, and he said, "Mom, stop." And I said, how come Daddy gets to do that and I don't get to do that? He says, you just don't know how to do it. You're just not he said, you're not a very funny person, Mom.
Oh my God.
And I said, there are people who think I'm funny. I'm just going to tell you that there are people in this world who think that I am funny. And he said, I really don't think so, Mom. You're just not that funny. And it comes from years of me being, Little Miss Strict.
Right. And you know what? I see that all the time, and I'm certainly guilty of that in my family too with my kids, is one parent ends up being more the disciplinarian, and the other parent ends up being more the sort of fun parent or the buddy. And honestly, neither role is really the right way to go. There's no reason why you can't have good discipline based on positive reinforcement and extinction, right? Not giving the kid what he wants if he's not being, polite and respectful. There's no reason why you can't have good discipline and have tons of fun. It's just that, human beings are fairly simple creatures, and it's kind of hard for us to keep both of those things in mind at the same time as parents. probably largely because of our emotional responding, right? So if a kid didn't quite have the best day, then it's upsetting and it's difficult and it's frustrating, and it's kind of hard to then, you know, the next day or that evening or whatever, be Mr. Happy Fun Time.
Yeah.
Right? So, but we got to keep in mind what makes the kid behave well is having good contingencies in place, real clear-cut rules, clear-cut consequences, you know, positive consequences when the kid's behaving well and being respectful and everything else, and the lack of those positive consequences when the kid isn't. And that's it. That's all it takes. And so there's no reason why you can't do that and have lots of fun too. Here, okay, real quick, here's one thing too, is if you get too obsessed with this idea of consequences, like, you know, do this and then you get that, that's what makes learning work for all humans, regardless of whether you call it ABA or not. That is the core of learning process for humans. But there's something else too called non-contingent reinforcement, and that means you just get some stuff for free just cause. Okay? So for example, you're going to tell your kid you love them, right? They don't have to work for that, right? You're going to give your kid a hug. They don't have to work for that, right? You're going to make sure your kid has adequate food, shelter, you know, clothing and everything else. They don't have to, you know, do the right behavior to get all that stuff, right? However, there's plenty of other fun things that one can do in life that really should be done for free. So it should be happy fun time, you know, maybe right when your kid gets home from school before you even have the opportunity to really ask him to do anything. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm being paged, I guess. I'm going to tell him do not disturb. So, you know, one of the tricks is picking moments where you haven't even asked your child to do anything. So there's no issue of compliance or non-compliance, nothing else. It's just you and me, and there's nothing else going on. Let's have some fun, period.
That's great.
And really, you know, the old rule is you should be doing, I don't know, 5 times or 10 times more positive than negative stuff in general with your kid or your clients or anything else. So really that means every day, for sure, we better be carving out some happy fun time with our kids. Just for free, just because.
Well, I think that's great advice, and I think that we can schedule that if we have to in order to make it happen, to remember, whether it's putting something on a wall to remind yourself, whether you put up non-contingent reinforcement, or you know, say remember to have fun in between. As I think about it, when therapists would come to the house and work with Jem, they would work on a lesson and then they would finish that and then they would go and play. And so that they built it into that, you know, it's always going to be fun for them. And as a parent, I am not as good about doing that, and then I need to be better about that. Maybe we can all learn from that.
Yeah, we could all learn.
But I think that that's would help our stress level too. It's got many benefits beyond just helping our child.
You know, one example, good example of that kind of relationship that's good discipline but also really fun is a really good athletic coach or a good karate instructor. Yes, there's a lot of discipline, right? And it's clear that they're the boss, but a good one will also do lots of back patting, lots of, you know, scruffling the kid's hair or whatever, lots of encouragement, lots of praise. And the kid loves the coach, right? Do anything for the coach. And it's not just because they're hard ass, it's because they're also very positive and very, very affirming, right?
Right.
It's probably easier for coaches because they're not as personally involved, right? So when a kid goofs off or whatever, it's not their kid. It doesn't really reflect on them. It's just their job or it's their hobby or whatever, you know. It's probably quite a bit easier to just do what you're supposed to do for someone who's basically who it's their job. Same thing with a therapist. You know, you don't see therapists, a good therapist, you don't see a therapist getting upset with a client. Like, why would they do that? It's a job. It's their job to be positive and contingent, you know.
Yeah. In fact, it's one of the things that the dad brought up on the A word in today's episode, that he said, you know, therapists come in and they work with my child for 2 hours and then they get to leave and then it's me for the next 23. And it's infinitely harder. It is.
Absolutely.
But it is what it is. And we have to find the way to be that person in our children's life so that we can enjoy them. And that it doesn't work against ABA.
No.
That really, if we're doing it the best that we possibly can, then it would go hand in hand with it.
Well, yeah, and let me be clear, it's not something separate from ABA. This is a critical component to all good ABA programs, is just lots and lots of fun. I mean, that's a critical component. That's not optional. And there's a name for it. We call it non-contingent reinforcement. And there's actually a lot of good research to show that non-contingent reinforcement is an effective way to decrease challenging behaviors. And there's a reason for that. So like, let's say your kid goofs off a lot in order to get your attention, right? So there's sort of attention maintained, problem behavior of some kind. Well, if you give your kid a lot of attention for free and have fun frequently with your child, then what you're doing is decreasing their motivation to do something bad in order to get your attention. Why? Because they already have your attention, right? They're not starved or deprived of it. So it makes sense conceptually, and there's good research to show it actually works. And it just makes your life better.
Yeah. Well, and in particular, too, what comes to mind for me, that's a great classroom technique. If we have any of the teachers that are still on break watching, that kid that, I'm an ex-classroom teacher, and there was always that student in the classroom that you saw that would come in that they would be so difficult, but you could see that they were an empty bucket, that they just needed attention so badly, and that when you take the time with that kid and say, you are my personal assistant in this classroom, and you just fill that bucket full of praise, not only do they stop with the challenging behavior, but they become amazing students.
That's right, and you do it, and it's worth noting, you do it as a preventive strategy, a proactive strategy, right?
Yes.
In PA lingo would say an antecedent intervention. It means you get in there and do that before the kid has a problem, right? So you don't wait for them to act out and then realize, oh yeah, I guess I should be giving him more attention and more affirmation. You identify that kid immediately. As soon as they come through the door, first thing in the morning, you go make eye contact, give them a personal compliment or something, or talk about again, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then we can also be doing that with our kids too, getting there before the meltdown, giving the attention before the meltdown. All really great advice. I'm putting you on the spot here, but do you have any resolutions, any goals for 2013 in particular for you?
I don't think I usually make resolutions. I can't remember if I have one or not. Well, actually, no. One of them was have more fun.
There you go.
Work less, have more fun.
There you go. I think that's a great resolution.
I'll work on that.
Well, we all need to work on that, right? I know I certainly do, too. I want to thank you so much for being willing to come and do this today via the Skype. And always, we appreciate you. And I'd like to take 1 minute to have you talk to parents a little bit about what's happening at Autism Research Group, and if you've got any surveys or anything that you want people to participate in.
Yeah, so we still have our, well, first of all, Autism Research Group is our nonprofit research institute dedicated to doing research that makes a real life difference in the kids or in the lives of families affected by autism.
Yeah, amazing.
Not just sort of research that's scientifically interesting or sort of scholarly, worthwhile or something, but research where the people involved in the research it'll change their lives, and the information the research produces is actually going to be useful to actually make a difference. So that's our mission. That's what we do. A huge thing we're doing is basing our research on parent input. So we still have a survey. It's an ongoing survey. We'd really appreciate folks to go to www.autismresearchgroup.org and click on our parent-generated research initiative link. And it's a link to a survey. It'll only take about 10 minutes to fill out. We want to know what you think matters in autism research. Tell us what's the most important topics to you. And there's also a question there that asks you to tell us what you think is the stupidest or most annoying topic that's addressed in autism research. We can avoid that. And we're actually building research protocols from the results of those surveys.
Well, I think it's amazing. And always, one of the things that I really enjoy about you is that you ask the question that a lot of times, and I've said this to you before, that I find myself saying, well, duh, but unless it's asked, then you don't know.
Right.
And what a great, well, duh, what are the things that really annoy you in autism research? It's, but it's great that you're asking, because we shouldn't assume ever.
That's right.
And I, as a parent, really appreciate that, and I appreciate all the work that you do in this field. You make such a difference always, and we so appreciate your time. And I hope that you guys have a great year and that you do find time to have more fun.
Well, thank you very much. You too.
And we're going to check back on this topic from time to time. But thank you, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, and we'll see you next Friday.
Thanks, Shannon.
Take care. Bye-bye. So that was Dr. Jonathan Tarbox joining us from another office in this building. Normally he's here in the studio with us, but when I'm in the building, I'm wearing a mask because my child came back positive for influenza type A. And we can't be spreading that around, right? And I have had a cold, so, good precautions. And and I really wanted to be here today to talk about a bunch of different things. We're going to take a short break, come back. Somebody wrote in a question that I want to address and give you some things to think about as you leave, including watching Miss America tomorrow night on ABC. Check your local programming for time, because Alexis Wineman she's Miss Montana, and she is on the autism spectrum. We really want to support her. Okay, stick with us. Back in a few.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but you know, we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
yes.
did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received a grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, you know, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, they wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We had a question that came in while we were talking to Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, and I want to put it up on the screen for you guys. We played a commercial for Skills, and somebody wrote in and said, this is about Skills program. Can anyone start to use it? I'm going to be all done with high school soon and just wanted to take classes on internet. This is your friend from Appleton, Wisconsin. Hello. Okay, let's start with the first question. This is about Skills program. Can anyone start to use it? Yes, anyone can start to use it. It is a subscription so that you pay a certain amount to have it per month, but you can get, there's two different ways that you can try it out before you pay for it. I'm a big proponent in that, so that you see if it's something, what it is that you need. There is one version of it that you need to put a credit card number down and you get 14 days for free, and on the 15th day, if you haven't canceled it, it charges you for the next month. If you don't want to put a credit card down, there is a way that you can do a trial membership that it's called Skills Lite, so that it lets you do a lot of the things on the website, but it doesn't give you access to everything for the 14 days. But you aren't charged afterwards. And for some people, that's, I know my limits with that kind of thing, that I'm not good about remembering to cancel something, and so that might be better for you. But let's talk about what Skills is, because I don't necessarily think that's the thing that you're looking for. Skills is an online program that is a curriculum when you are working with an individual or a group of individuals on the autism spectrum. It gives you a series of questions that you can answer, an assessment about what the child can do, what the child can't do, and you answer those, and then it makes recommendations about different lessons that would be appropriate to teach that child. And then you can pick and choose what order you want to teach them in and what priority you want to teach them in, and you can graph them. Okay, that is what Skills is. It is the largest curriculum online for treating autism, and it is the only one that I am aware of that is evidence-based. This is the curriculum that has been used. It is the same curriculum that was used for my child. It's been used for over 20 years, research-based, is effective at creating progress for kids on the autism spectrum. I am the hugest fan of Skills, but it is for that. It is not an online class. It is an online curriculum. Now, if you're looking for an online class to take, there are a series of classes that are available to you by the same organization that did Skills to train you in a wide variety of different things. If you are a parent and you're going to be working with a child on the spectrum and you want to learn more about ABA and how to deliver ABA, there is a parent card e-learning. If you want to be working with children and become a therapist, there is a CARD e-learning for that as well. If you are a teacher in the classroom and want to learn about things that are specific for being in the classroom, there are a series of lessons now that are available, and they are classes online that you can take, and you can get continuing education credits for them. It's really pretty amazing. Now, where can you find all of that? If you go to it's called IBT, and I want to give you the actual right address. So it's the Institute for Behavior Training, and the address is www.ibehavioraltraining.com. behavioraltraining.com. You will see that there are a vast number of lessons that are available now. A lot of it online. There you do have the option for face-to-face training, and if you're going to get your BCBA, your to be a board certified behavior analyst, that you can get supervision for that as well, and continuing education if you're somebody who already has your bachelor's or your master's. But anybody can take these classes, and what I love about them is that they're individual subjects, so that you can say, okay, I really want to learn about this, and you sign up for it and take just that class, and they range between, I think, $10 and $25, and you can start and stop, take notes. It's all very user-friendly. So that's what I would encourage you to look at if you're looking for a class, because you said you're looking for some classes after high school. And since I know, since you're my friend from Appleton, I know that you're interested in those behavioral kinds of things and potentially being a therapist down the road. So that's really where I think you're going to find some interesting stuff. I'm going to give you that web address again. It is www.ibehavioraltraining.com. And that is the Institute for Behavioral Training, and some amazing things. I would also tell you that they shot those trainings, for the vast majority of them, in this studio. And there were times when I was outside in the control room working, and I just would get so excited by what they were doing in here. So very excited about that. All right, I want to remind all of you, a couple of programming notes, that we're going to be back on Monday for, hopefully, heaven help us, that everybody will be well enough that we'll be here all next week. In fact, we're featuring Autism Society of America all next week, and we're going to have Scott Badish, who is the president of the Autism Society, with us on Monday and talking about that wonderful organization all week long. We're also going to be continuing to talk about how we can get substantive progress for all of our kids, and what some of the issues are facing the autism community in this year of 2013. Amazing how fast it goes. But I must remind you that even when we're not here, the show does air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not live, but in rerun. And I encourage you to check us out on YouTube and all these other places, and I'll have Emily, if we have time, show you all those different places that you can find us online. We appreciate when you guys write in, and so many of you wrote in over the break to let us know the kinds of things that you want us to be talking about. We've got a lot of new programming in the chute, some of it that we're already delivering for you, and especially talking about, and we didn't have time to get to it today, but in light of what happened in Connecticut late last year, we are especially wanting to put forth the true faces of autism, what this looks like, and the many wonderful people who are on the autism spectrum. And we'll be showing you some clips about that next week as well. And I'd love to hear from you guys. If you would like to be featured in one of those, let us know, because we want to get that information out. All right, our time is up. I will be back on Monday, but until then, everybody stay healthy, watch Miss America, and give your kids a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.